What's up, y'all? Welcome back. We are into the school year, like week 7 or week 8, whatever it is. But we are here today. Okay, are you ready for this? I am currently in the middle of doing a shift and changing some things in my room. Yes, already. So, join me as we change some things up. Here we go. Okay, so you're probably like, what? Why are you changing things already? So here we go. If you watch the other videos, you know I recently changed schools. So I'm coming from a 5-star school to a Title I that just went from a 1-star to a 2-star. The demographics are very different. The students are very different. And I've struggled. I'm gonna admit that. If you've noticed from my channel, I posted like a day 1 video. I had actually recorded multiple other videos and just never had the chance to put them together, to be honest with you. So I was debating whether to do that before I did this one, but then I was like, it's fine. This is honestly a reality of teaching, and as much as I wish I could say the year started differently for me, that's just how this year started. I've struggled with getting into a groove, getting into routine. There were certain things I thought I had packed and just haven't been able to find. So needless to say, we've hit a couple bumps in the beginning of the year. I also had gotten a new student who is probably my biggest behavior in my class, and so we've been navigating through all the things. Come week 3, I kind of started to get into a really good routine. They were starting to become civilized citizens, and we were starting to get into curriculum and things like that. And now we are at week 7 or 8, and I'm realizing I'm going too fast, implementing too many things. And as much as I wanted to hold them to the same expectations as I had my students the last couple of years, I just can't. It's after school, so I don't know what bell that is, but anyways, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. So yesterday was honestly the hardest day I've had this school year. I had 5 students total get in trouble yesterday, whether recess specials. 1 had gotten 3 behavior incidents in one day. By the end of the day, I just wanted to cry. I think I was so numb that I couldn't even cry. Like, it just was a long day. And I know towards the end of the day, I think everything was just getting worse because I was just in a place of just like, what? So that is what's bringing about all these changes. And yes, so there's some things that I've slowly started to change this week anyway, because I was starting to feel it, and then I kind of just hit rock bottom, and now I'm for sure changing some other things. So let's go through with all the changes that I'm making this year. Maybe it's just the COVID babies. I don't know if it's because I'm in a Title I school. Maybe my expectations are just too high. Whatever the case, I think every year I end up making changes. This year it's happening a lot sooner, but I think this is where it's very important to reflect on if it's your students, is it you, is it what you're putting out, is it how they're taking it, is it how you're taking it. So as much as like it's them, it's also me. So here we go. We're gonna start with the things that I'm kind of changing from the morning and then go on. So if you had watched my day 1 video and my setup, this was supposed to be my focus wall. You could even see it still says focus wall at the top. However, this group really just needs me front and center. So even with the little bit away from the carpet that it was, I felt like I didn't have their attention as much. And there are certain things when conversation comes about, or I think of something I want to tell them, I like to be able to write it on the board right at that time. Or if one of them, for example, if we're doing an equation and one of them gives me another, I like to write it right then and there. So that's where on the bulletin board it made it really difficult to do that. And so I put this over here, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But so you could see, I've now changed my focus wall to being up here. I have 3 other things that I'm also adding, like number sequence, tally marks, and something else. Oh, money when we get, but I'm gonna add the money next semester. So those things will be going up, the 2 of them, next week. But so we talk about our number, the number word, we compare it, we do an equation for it, we talk about our letter, sight word, the shape, and the color. So we go over all of these in the morning. I have like either a movement or a song with each one of them. Excuse me. Sorry. I also had been so sick, and I'm finally starting to feel better, so just all the things, right? Welcome to teaching. This honestly takes maybe 7 to 8 minutes. It's nothing long and crazy, but it's just a really good review of all those vital skills that once we teach, they kind of forget. So this will literally be the entire school year. We'll hit numbers 0 to 20, and then depending how they take that, I'll either go through the T numbers again, or we'll start doing the decade numbers. Crazy, right? All right, so that's the morning board. Let me show you what else I'm changing with the reading. Okay, so like I had said before, this was going to be the focus wall, but being that I wanted that on the whiteboard now so I could write, I was originally going to put the reading by my small group, but I noticed something else too. So the reading, I ended up putting it right here. I wanted it to be close to where I didn't have to like go around my small group table to change my group. So at least they're right here on the carpet when I change the groups. And we're gonna get this in full swing next week. I've never done it this late in the school year, but these guys have really needed explicit how-tos on literally everything. So I'm honestly excited to get this up and running. And then here at the bottom, this roadmap is by the Happy Teachers palette, and I love this. I typically have like a car, I couldn't find it unpacking, but I typically have a car, and whenever we read a story, we pretty much go through the roadmap and we'll talk about who the author was, where we could find the author, who the illustrator was, what they do, where we could find it on the cover. We'll see if they could find where the title is. We'll talk about the title. We'll talk about the characters, the main idea, the setting. And this is of course if it's a fiction. And then if it's a nonfiction, we typically go through the parts of the book really hitting like table of contents, and then slowly throughout the year as we learn more things, we'll learn other elements of the nonfiction. But for now, this is good. Okay, before we move on, if you're wondering what this is for, I do a Google sheet of my rotations and groupings for the week, the rotations, and then I put it here so that this way, if I ever forget like where I'm rotating what things, I just have this to easily reference, because I'll put it all up and this will be good for 2 days, but then I'll have to switch it for the next day. So love, love, love. So this is where we showcase all of their artwork. I don't put it in any type of order. I don't want the kids to pick up like whose is whose, because you know we have ones like this. So do you see this? Yep, that's how some of us are feeling. Which now brings us to this side of the room and the next thing that we're changing. One thing I've noticed is my ELL kiddos are picking up on a lot of language, but I don't have enough tools in the room for them to utilize for their work. The alphabet is up and numbers are up, but for the most part, there's really not a lot of other things for them to reference as far as tools to help them with writing. So with that, I am gonna go back to old school ways. It worked. I hadn't needed one for the last couple years, but I feel like it's gonna do really good for this class and this group. So the fact that we're struggling a little bit with like vocabulary and certain things like that, I want to get them better at word recognition, recognizing their name, friends' names, environmental text, pretty much, right? So we are going to be implementing a word wall, which is another reason why I took the reading center board and kind of put it over there where the focus wall was, and we are literally today going to make this into a word wall. Tomorrow my goal is to first start off the word wall with all of their names. I'm going to put them on one color, and then we've so far learned 5 sight words. So we will then next week put up their sight words, and then I'm going to kind of tell them how it's going to be a thing where when we have a new sight word, we'll put it up. This is a really good time filler too, to where like if you do have an extra 2 minutes before you have to go outside, you could literally have them on the carpet, point to a word and have them read it, and then they get to line up afterwards. So it could be really utilized in lots of different ways. I think I might even turn it into a center or something like that. I'm kind of brainstorming different ways that I could use it, even put up pictures with the word, I don't know, something. So we're going to start though with getting the word wall up. And this is another huge thing that I'm changing and adding it to my room this year. I'm curious if you guys like still do word walls, if you took it down. I know a big thing now has become like sound walls and not word walls, but I feel like they hold a different purpose, just to be real. So it's a do you boo. Word wall is up. I'm actually really excited for this, and I honestly do like that it's in near my small group area, because even when we're in small group I could reference this. When I'm whole group writing right here, we could reference this. So tomorrow we're going to start by putting their names up, and we're going to see how this goes. I'm so excited about this word wall and implementing this literally tomorrow. Okay, so starting next week we are going to have reading groups Monday through Friday. In the future, if I end up having a progress monitor, I'll take out one of those days and I'll end up doing progress monitoring that time. But for the time being, we're going to pull groups Monday through Friday. Yes. Now, I'm also going to be doing math groups, which I've also kind of changed how I was going to implementing the math. So here's some things I've realized about math. Okay, so here we utilize Envisions. I've used Envisions for a very long time. I have such a love-hate with it. There's parts of it I love, there's parts of it I hate. One thing I do not like is the layout of the first 4 units. Now, the first unit is numbers 0 to 5. Reading it, writing it, counting it. However, my class didn't even know what numbers 0 to 5 were. So week 1, we kind of like dived into curriculum. I had actually started in week 2, and epic fail. Epic fail. Typically, what I do is week 1, I do curved line versus straight line. Week 2, I will introduce numbers 0 to 5 explicitly. This is the number, this is how to write it, each one individually. And then the week after, then I kind of smooth into starting the Envisions unit after all those numbers have been explicitly taught. So this way then we ease into the units and they have the prior skills needed for the units. I did not do that this year. We kind of crashed and burned. So I took a week to reteach, was very good. And then I should have did unit 2 where I did a lesson out of Envisions and then did that same lesson but with different materials the next day. I did not. The problem is I'm trying to keep up with my grade level, so this way my data is ready for our meetings, but it's just not working for my kids. So I have kind of realized this week I'm working harder, not smarter. So I need to slow things down. And I might not have to for every single lesson, but what I'm gonna be doing, we're in the middle of unit 3 right now, which is numbers 6 through 10. I'm taking a pause. I'm gonna slow down this unit, and we're about to go into numbers 8, 9, and 10. So I'm gonna teach 8 explicitly and then do the 8 lesson, and then teach 9 explicitly and then do the 9 lesson. So this way, the days that I'm explicitly teaching the number, I could introduce it, I could have them write it, we could count up to the number, we could count out that number, we could review the other numbers past, and then the next day we can put it into practice, if that makes sense. I just feel like they're learning the best that way, and when I do it that way, they're actually getting it. Now, realistically, I can't do this the whole school year if I want to get through the program, and I always like to have it all done before our spring testing, so I'm definitely gonna have to map out. That's kind of my goal. Our next 3-day weekend is I want to look at my long range, and I need to figure out where I have movement, like how many days a week do I have that I can do a supplemental lesson, if that makes sense. But in the meantime, I'm also going to be implementing math centers. So let me explain to you my board. In the unit we just wrapped up, we did numbers 0 to 5, and then this was all of our vocabulary, comparing, greater than, less than, fewer, more or less. So I put all of that vocabulary up there. And now I'm gonna have 4 different math groups, and I have all the kids' names already tossed to the side. And what's gonna happen is there will be one group that will go to manipulatives, and in this pack I also have it to where they could do math facts. So later in the year I'll switch it to math facts, and when they go here they'll do extra math, because by then they'll know how to add. So that'll be their practice every day. But for now, they'll go here and they'll play with manipulatives. Sometimes it'll be where they have the opportunity to explore. Other times it'll be more of a directive, and this is what I want you to do with the manipulatives. So manipulatives will be one group. Another group will be an activity at their seat. It might be a cut and paste, it might be a puzzle, it might be a tub, but that group will do it at their seat independently. Another group will be with the teacher, and this also could be switched out to technology. So if there's ever a day that like I need to pull myself and go do something, I can put them on technology. And my school doesn't have a program that we have to use, but Happy Numbers is free, so that's going to be my backup. And group number 4 is going to be hands-on, and when they are doing hands-on, I have tubs at the front of the room, and they can pick a tub and go to the carpet, and they will do that activity. And these are like hands-on things, so like giant dice, different math games, that type of stuff. And the students, I could do 4 groups because I only have 14 kids, so that's not a lot of kids in a group, so I am very fortunate that way. And then over here on this side, if you know kinder, you know by the end of the year we have to write up to 20. So we start with 5, so whoever can write to 5 already has their sticker. And I'm such a stickler, like no writing numbers backwards, has to be in order, starting with 0. And then they'll go to 10, and then 20, and then I try to push them all the way to 120. I try to get as many as I can, because I know that even though I teach kinder and my standard's only to 20, when they go to 1st grade, they have to write to 120. So the more I can help them build that number sense, the easier their 1st grade will be. I know you're probably like, how on earth are you gonna fit in math centers? And what I'm gonna do, we have this weird end of the day where we're supposed to be on Lexia doing social studies, all the things. I implement all of my science, social studies, and health into my reading. So for me, that kind of gives me extra time at the end of the day. I have typically been using it for Lexia, but I also don't want them to get bored or lazy with it. So my plan, typically they should have like 40 to 60 minutes a week on Lexia, depending where they're at. So I want to make sure I could get that in. So right now at the beginning of the year, while we're still kind of behind, 3 days out of the week, or I want to say 2 days, 2 days out of the week, I'm going to put them on Lexia at the end of the day. And then the other 2 days, I'm going to do the math rotations and pull the groups. And then this way on Fridays, if they kill their Lexia, we're focused and have all their minutes for the week, they'll be able to have like some free choice time. And if they do not, they will be on Lexia, and then I will be pulling some other kids while they have their own free choice. So that's kind of my goal now with the end of the day and being able to fit in math rotations. The math, I feel like they get a lot easier than the reading skills. So I think even just with 2 to 3 days of the rotations and me reteaching it, for the most part, I genuinely feel like 90% of them will be okay. It's just the fact of like sitting there showing them one-on-one, and then this way they could apply it during the rest of our tier 1. So that's the goal. We're gonna roll all this out next week, so I promise I will check back in and we will do a recap of how that's all going. Next week is gonna be really fun because I'm gonna get into community helpers. I do use the HMH module, but I also have a lot of things of my own that I've created that I'm like so excited to share with you guys. And I had started it last year and just didn't get it done in time, so I'm really excited to like roll all this out. The HMH books and literature I really like. I like the informational videos, I like the vocabulary part, but what I do feel like is missing is all the implementation of a bunch of our health standards that could be, and just some other topics. So I'm going to be kind of taking a whole bunch of our health standards and fitting them into next week with all the community helper stuff that we're doing, so stay tuned. One of the other things I decided to change up and do differently from my grade level 2, I am only doing 2 letters a week, which I know that sounds really crazy, but I'm very big on, I want the tier 1 to be strong, explicit, and I want them to get it. So any of the years that I've just banged out a letter a day, I felt they didn't really grasp it, and then I was having to do the letters 2 or 3 times, which I feel like I could just do them once, explicitly do it, and they'll have it. So what I've been doing is I do 2 letters a week. I introduce the letter, we sort that letter, pictures from that letter and our previous letter, beginning sound, we write the letter, discuss all the things, right? And then at the same time, I'm also doing my zoophonics that I do, which I have a PowerPoint where like we literally just go through each letter, the entire alphabet, and I have an action with each one. So we just do A, B, B, C, K, D, D. Literally entire alphabet. So it's like that old school zoophonics, but I've put a different twist on it, and my bestie and I had came up with this years ago. There's things like it out there, but I've done it every year. It works like a charm. It kind of reminds me of like the secret stories and everything, but it's something where there's actions for all of them. So I feel like those kids that are your kinesthetic learners that need that movement to go with it, it just triggers a different part of their brain, so it helps it stick. So a lot of my kids even right now can tell me more sounds than letter names, and like, hey, that's cool, because that's what you need to know when we're sounding out words. So we've been rolling with that, and despite only doing 2 letters a week, I actually have a lot of kids that have over the amount of letters that we've learned, and I have a few that actually have already learned the whole alphabet just from what they're taking from the other parts of our day. So that's been very effective. But I think with like the reading groups and me toning in on those kids' weaknesses with their letter names and sounds, I think I'll be able to help everybody else catch up. So ta-da! Okay, so I also told you that the rigor was something that I've been worrying about. There's a couple parts of my day where I try to get them to get out of their seat, go to the carpet, come back to their seat, and just get them up and active. But this group has a really hard time with transitions, and they just have difficulty following multiple step directions. So as much as I want to give them those opportunities to get out of the seat, they're just not ready yet for the multiple step directions. And I've realized that they do better when they're in a space for a longer period of time, which is kind of weird and interesting, but they also, I feel like, are not used to being responsible for a lot of different things. So a lot of them are a little unorganized, a tad messy. So I need to simplify what they have, which right now in their cubbies, they have their 95 book, which we use as a warm-up. They have a sheet protector kind of tracing thing. They have a whiteboard, a journal, and then a green folder for our math warm-up, which it's honestly a lot, and it's making, I'm probably making them, I'm the problem. I'm making them more unorganized. So we're actually gonna ditch the math folder, and instead of a math paper warm-up, I'm gonna go back to Number Talks. It works great. I honestly think being back in an ELL environment with a lot of kids that need that discussion and all those things, I think I need to take away the paper warm-up, and we need to do a number talk where we're talking, discussing all the things. I honestly just kind of get bored of them at some point, and it seems to become redundant. Like for my class last year, I had to scratch the number talks because it just became really redundant, and they were so good. This group, I really think they'll benefit from the discussion portion and the speaking and listening procedures, routines, respectfulness of waiting for someone else to talk, waiting for our turn, all the things. So we're gonna roll with that next week too. So I'm gonna take out the green folders. We're ditching the journals because Lord have mercy, they were a mess. So organization wise, we're gonna work on that. I think when we're gonna be actually writing, I'm just gonna hand out a paper that day because Jesus, take the wheel with the journals. Like, they're honestly even embarrassing to send home. So I'm just gonna hold on to those for right now. And yes, so let's go ahead and get those out of their cubbies. The last thing that I am struggling with are 2 of my ELL babies, which they're getting pulled out for extra support, but they are really low. I am starting to see them do the work, but just not able to tell me. So if you have any tips on helping them cross that bridge, I'm so open to them. I will be honest that I haven't worked with ELL kids for a really long time, so I'm trying to really be keen on vocabulary, giving them discussion and collaboration time, allowing talking that I don't usually allow, pictures for literally everything that we do. So I'm really trying to implement all those things, but I know one of them for sure, it's just getting her to feel confident and not being afraid to speak up and all the things. So we're getting there, making small gains, but I definitely don't want them to get like so behind at the same time, if that makes sense. So if you have any tips, let me know. I would love them. But I thank you so much, and it honestly really helped me getting out all my ideas today, and then now I feel like I have to do them and put them into the universe. So thank you for being here, because it's going to hold me accountable to actually doing all these things now. I do think one thing that's so important as teachers is for us to be reflective, not just for our students' growth, but our own growth as teachers as well. So as much as I've been teaching for kinder for so long and I feel so confident, yesterday I felt so defeated. So I am proud of myself for like reflecting, taking a step back, and making certain changes that I feel like are necessary for my kids. So I'm just really hoping now it works. So wish me luck. Okay, so again, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm feeling a lot better ending the week this way, and I'm honestly really looking forward going into next week with the new changes. I feel good about it. I feel good. So thank you. And if you have any other ideas, tips, things that are working for you, please let me know. Like, I would love to try all the things. I'm always open to it. But until next time, I'm Charlie Yeager, and I'm out.